Near mint condition, the home of collected editions.
That cover's so awesome.
Absolute format is the best way to own this store. Time to empty those wallets and fill those shelves. How's it going, all you minties? Uncanny Omar here from Near Mint Condition, the home of collected editions. And I kept my promise. I said I would be doing a deep dive comparison between X Factor, the original X-Men Omnibus Volume 1, the Uncanny X-Men Omnibus Volume 5, and X-Men Mutant Massacre Prelude Omnibus. So let's go ahead and check out the differences, the pros and cons, and hopefully answer all your questions, or all the questions I've been asked about these releases. And welcome back, everybody. So, today I am mainly going to be talking about the differences in the books, not really the build or the stories or the artwork, but focusing on the differences of these particular Omnis, whether you want to go this route or you want to go the route of the event Omnis, because now it has come to be the time that we are being given options. You can go in the chronological order of collecting Omnis, or you can go in the event Omni order or the creator-centric order. And it's kind of, especially if you're new to these particular collections, kind of becomes a little bit of a task to try to figure out the way that you want to go. So I hope today I'm able to answer these questions by looking inside of these books and talking about the differences and, of course, the pros and the cons of each one. So yeah, let's go ahead and start. We'll mainly focus on X-Men first and then talk about where X Factor fits into all of this, because X Factor is a little bit different, whereas this really isn't that different from this, with some exceptions, and I'll be talking about those exceptions. So we have Uncanny Omnibus Volume 5 and the X-Men Mutant Massacre Prelude. Why are these two options a big deal? Because the next book in the reading order of X-Men and Omnis, yes, I'm a monster, I'm keeping the dust jackets on, is Mutant Massacre. It matches, and I mean, it lines up perfectly with both of these books. So as you can see here, this collects Uncanny X-Men 194 to 209, X-Men Annuals 9 and 10, New Mutants Special Edition number 1, and New Mutants Annual number 2, Longshot 1 through 6, Nightcrawlers 1 through 4, and then Marvel Fanfare number 33. All of that is collected in this omnibus. Now there are some exceptions, like over here, you have the introductions for every one of the masterworks that are collected in here. And speaking of masterworks, what they usually do with these collections, whether it's X-Men or Spider-Man or Avengers, is that they use the latest scans from the masterworks. Speaking of masterworks. And it looks like they are using the latest scans for both of these. You can just tell by the lines and the amount of detail that goes into these. So it does look like they are using the latest scans for these particular Omnis. And if you want to know like the differences, I did a comparison between like the Marvel Masterworks and the Mutant Massacre Omnibus. Like sometimes the colors are messed up on the Omnis because they're not using the most cleanest and latest scans. Now, that could be a difference, but it looks like they are using the exact same scan. Anything else missing? Well, there is letter pages over here. You do have the letter pages in the Uncanny X-Men Omni. That's what I love about these. But you also have the letter pages over here in the Mutant Massacre Prelude Omnibus. Alright, so no differences there. Now, in this issue, issue 196 of Uncanny X-Men, there is a word that has been censored. It's a derogatory term, and they have censored it out. It's been blacked out here. In this printing of Uncanny X-Men Omnibus Volume 5, it's there. It's not censored. So there's a difference. I guess it depends if you want to see the word written out, but I'm pretty sure most people can figure out what the word is. Anyway, I did want to point that out, that it has not been censored in the Uncanny 5, and it has been censored in the Prelude to the Mutant Massacre. So that is one little change. What about well, we talked about letter pages. What about mapping? So the mapping in both of these is pretty similar until you get to the issue of Nightcrawler. The issue of Nightcrawler, so it's a 4-issue miniseries, happens after issue 198 of Uncanny X-Men. Over here, Nightcrawler is found all the way in the back. So after issue, I believe it's 209. Yeah, after issue 209 is where you're going to find it. I think this is better mapped than the Uncanny 5. I'm not sure why it was kept over here, because the events of this, I know it was published later on, but it takes place before issue 190. As a matter of fact, they do tell you, it takes place before issue 196. The other thing, while I have both of these, is the actual build. So this Uncanny 5 was printed at the iMac printer, and there's a little bit more bleed through than the one over here that's printed at the Donnelly printer. So there are subtle differences, but they are there. I think the mapping, but you know, everybody can judge for themselves. I think the mapping in this omnibus makes for a better reading order, because not only do they put the miniseries where I love to read them, but also issues of X Factor. And then, of course, the annuals, like the Asgardian storylines in here, and the New Mutants special. Those are perfectly mapped. And over here, you have Longshot. That kind of wraps up this particular omnibus. I want to say, no, the Marvel fan, yeah, even strange enough, Marvel Fanfare is kept. So even the mapping of something like Marvel Fanfare is kept all the way in the back. This is actually the story that wraps up this omnibus. So it's after Longshot, it's after Nightcrawler. Whereas over here, it's after the issue 20, I believe this is 201. Yeah, 201. So right after Magneto takes over the team, and right after Cyclops decides to leave, is when the X-Men are going back to that island where he left Lee Forrester. So he kind of wraps up those particular stories. Whereas over here, really doesn't make any sense for them to be going back to the island. But again, it's just a minor gripe. Now, the extras. As far as the extras are concerned, in X-Men 5, they're all the way in the back, just like over here. However, the framing over here is yellow, whereas the framing over in X-Men is black. And when I say they're about the identical omnibus, I mean, even the way the extras are laid out are done the exact same way. Now, sorry, skipping a little bit here. Now, this book over here on the left-hand side has 1,064 pages, whereas this one here on the right-hand side has 1,496 pages. And again, you can see a little bit more bleed through over here in those white pages than you can over here. Now, this is more for people that want to collect X-Men. Like, let me just kind of give you an idea of what the Insanity can kind of look like. Excuse the mics right there. But this can give you an idea as to what people, like what we want to collect. Let's actually move that out of the way to kind of see the gap. So you can go the route of those particular volumes of X-Men and put Uncanny 5, or continue going with 5, 6, 7, 8. Those haven't even been announced, so I don't know when they'll be out. Or you can go the route of event omnis and oversized hardcovers. Like we have Extinction Agenda Omnibus that's going to put both of those oversized hardcovers together in one omni. You could go that route. For a lot of us, because we are talking about X-Men, we kind of want to go that route because, well, we don't know how long it's going to be. How long? That's Uncanny Omar Talk Pretty one day. How long it's going to be before we get to Uncanny, what we're looking at here, 7, 8, 9 for some of these. Yeah, we don't know. We have no idea. So for a lot of us, it's kind of, we want to get it now. All right, let me check and see. Give me a second. I'm going to see if everything that's in here, all the extras are in here. All right. So far, they're identical. But then we know we're going to see some differences because we have X Factor. And we go. And finally, some differences. Okay, we have original art here from Nightcrawler, and it jumps right to Longshot. Whereas over here, we have the extras of X Factor collected, which we'll go and look at that in a little bit. But here's the Longshot, so let's make sure that's all collected in here. So it is the script to Longshot. The Longshot series Bible. Doesn't say what it is up at the top, but it is here. And then we get to the sketches over here. The character designs, okay, which, again, collected here. And also in the Arthur Adams Omnibus. And there's lots of those goodies back here. Now, one thing I did notice when I was flipping through here, and I promise I'm going to look at that X Factor stuff and see if Nightcrawler is actually collected here like that original art, is I was wrong. The Marvel Masterworks intros are actually in the back of this book. They're not at the beginning or in between chapters. So even the Marvel Masterworks intros are in here. Let me make sure. Gosh, Arthur Adams did a lot of extras here. Oh man, even beautiful painted stuff like that. Original pages. So speaking of original pages, still haven't ran across that Nightcrawler. Okay, there's Nightcrawler. So maybe this is where they put the original art for Nightcrawler. Nope. And then the Mutant Report. So here's some X Factor. Let me see. All right, Mutant Report right here. So those are in here. And this is where they're doing the introduction. The Long Shot trade paperback. And this is the Marvel Masterworks introductions that I was talking about. They're collected in here, but we're right before the Masterworks. And then more of this. So from first glance, it looks like everything, with the exception of those Nightcrawler original pages. Here, let's get to see if those X-Men classic. I know I saw those, yeah. Yeah, it looks like everything but the Nightcrawler pages are collected in here. Okay, now, what about X Factor? All right, this one's a little bit different because X Factor Omnibus Volume 1 collects issues 1 through 26 of X Factor Annuals 1 and 2, Iron Man Annual 8, Amazing Spider-Man 282, Fantastic Four 286, and Avengers 263, Thor 373 to 374, 377, 378. Power Pack Annuals, or Power Pack 27 and 35, Mephisto and Incredible versus number 2, and then Incredible Hulk 336 to 337, Secret Wars number 2, number 5, and then material from Marvel Fanfare 40, Classic X-Men 8 and 43. So not everything, but if you have the, again, let's go back up here. If you have the Event Omni Mutant Massacre, if you have the Fall of the Mutants, those issues have been collected in there, with the exception of something like the first appearance of Boom Boom, right? Like in Secret Wars. So that one hasn't been collected, and it's now collected in the X Factor Omnibus. So again, I think it really depends on how you want to collect it. But I will say, best bang for your buck, everything from X-Men, with the exception of those original pages of Nightcrawler, is collected in this omnibus. That Uncanny X-Men Omnibus Volume 5 retails for $125. This book retails for $150. This X Factor Omnibus retails for $125. But it goes further than this. It goes into the Fall of the Mutants. So let's actually get to the X Factor issues here, because we are talking about mainly X Factor, so it happens after. And again, mapped where I would have put it. Now, this doesn't have any X-Men, even though there's that crossover. It's not really a crossover. That event, really, every character was kind of doing their own thing in their own title. Aha, here we go. So there we go with X Factor. There we go. Now, I noticed one big difference already when I did the overview of the Mutant Massacre Prelude. And that is basically the letter pages. So everything that's in here is collected in here, in the Prelude to the Massacre. But for some reason, it was decided that the Prelude to the Massacre Omnibus of issues of X Factor would contain letter pages, whereas X Factor Omnibus Volume 1 does not. I don't know why they decided to do that, which is really an interesting choice. Most of the time when they do these books, it's the chronologically mapped books, like, of series that get the letter pages. But for some reason in X Factor, this is the first time I've seen an event get actual... Here, let me go back. For example, actual letter pages instead of the series omnibus, which, again, you know, it's not a deal breaker for everybody, but I feel like this would be more complete for people that love letter pages. And who knows if, where am I going here? Who knows if Volume 2 of this will have letter pages. It's going to be interesting if there's a Volume 2 of this, because we still need an era of X Factor, like Judgment, the Judgment Day era, or Judgment War, that's what it's called, that hasn't been collected. So there's no letter pages here. It just ends with issue number 6 and jumps right to 7, and over here, yeah. So it's a little bit different already. Now, what about the extras? because I said even the X-Men have letter pages, and all the letter pages are intact over in this omnibus. Long shot, properly mapped. So let's get to the extras. At least the X-Factor portion of the extras, which start over here. And over here we have all this, which is the Marvel Age. I feel like that's what's collected in here as well. This is probably a little bit different. Dazzler. This is behind the scenes stories as to who was supposed to be. Yeah, these are original pages, so I'm pretty sure the original pages are probably kept all the way. Alright, so there are some differences in the extras for these. Like, we kick it off a little bit different over here in the Prelude, where you have the changing in the art of John Byrne's ending. So this does have some original art over here. But not, yeah. And then you jump to Long Shot, and then there's that Nightcrawler original art. So again, looking a little bit different than this over here. This seems to have more extras. Now, there is the Marvel Age 33, which is, of course, the cover to the Mutant Massacre Prelude. So let's see how much of this they've kept. So, information, behind this. I love the behind-the-scenes stories of who they wanted to bring back instead of Jean Grey, who was supposed to be the 5th member, including her. Then, of course, Sarah. Claremont wanted to use Sarah. And Simonson's takeover. Oh, I guess that makes sense because they went into further. And then we're back to the Mutant Report. So, yeah, more extras over here. But it makes sense, right? Like, it has a lot more things in here. And original art, which we've already... Let's see if there's anything else. Yeah, it seems like you get a lot more of the X-Men extras and less of the X-Factor extras here. But then again, X-Factor went all the way to issue number 26, this omnibus. You do get a few of the reprints, but not all of them either. But that's it. This one here printed at the Donnelly printer, and so is this one. So really, what you're gaining here is more of a map beautifully omnibus, and this one's like, hey, this is for people that just want to collect X-Factor. You get letter pages over here, you don't over here, but you do get more extras over here. And of course, this takes you all the way to, again, issue number 26 of X-Factor, so the Fall of the Mutants, which is also collected in the Fall of the Mutants omnibus, and the some stuff in the Mutant Massacre omnibus. So wanted to come back here to see the way the book laid over, but then it's unfair to make that comparison because this is towards the very beginning of X-Factor. But at least comparing what the paper quality and the pages look like, with very minimal bleed through on both of them because they're both printed at the Donnelly printer. And paper stock just feeling very, very similar. But that's it. This one's $125. This one's $150. This one's $125, and then this one's $150. Now, are you mad enough to get all three? Is this what you've done, or which route did you go? But I hope I was able to answer questions, and if I haven't answered one of your questions, please leave those questions in the comments section. That's it, everybody. Regardless of which way you get to go, we are living in this wonderful era of collected editions where we now are given options. And it's going to get crazy whenever we start mixing in the creator-centric books, because we'll have lots of options, lots of different ways to collect these. But this is mainly just in omnibus format. And those were the pros and cons of these particular releases. Let me know in the comments down below if you're going the chronological order of X-Men and X-Factor, or if you're getting event omnis and you're just going to stick with those, or if you're going to wait until the Masterworks have come out so they have the best possible scans. I would love to know all those questions down below. And don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe, and ring that bell for notifications. Everyone, stay healthy and safe out there. Much love.